Welcome to A2Council Update, a recap of the Ann Arbor City Council meeting on February 18, 2025. This meeting included comments and discussion about paying $700,000 to a private broker to sell 415 West Washington and the Klein lot at William and Ashley, adding $1.6 million to a construction contract to repair the East Medical Center Drive Bridge, annexing property at Scioto Church and Ann Arbor Saline Road, rezoning properties at South Maple for the development of affordable housing, taking next steps for a municipal public power utility, directing the city administrator to enforce regulation of bike lanes, and awarding a liquor license to Recess Cafe on South Ashley. This is the voting chart for the council meeting on February 18, 2025. All votes were unanimous. You can find detailed information about this meeting at A2Council.com. Like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. The meeting included an update from Jeff Pfeiffer of the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority.
Many of you remember the ride was awarded a $25 million grant back in July to be used to purchase hybrid buses as well as a hydrogen pilot program. The funds were appropriated under the Biden administration as was the award given under the Biden administration. Since then, obviously been an administration change, a slew of executive orders and directives. So we're more or less in a waiting period.
After introductory remarks, public comments, and staff explanations, council discussed agenda items for about 25 minutes. 13 people signed up in advance to offer public comments. 11 people spoke to topics on the agenda. This week, the consent agenda included 15 items and expenditures of over $5 million. 2 items were pulled for discussion. Council considered a $700,000 contract for a private broker to facilitate the sale of 2 city-owned properties, 415 West Washington and the Klein lot at William and Ashley. The contract sets fees for the marketing and solicitation of bids for each property, $200,000 for 415 West Washington and $500,000 for the Klein lot. The city will pay 50% of these fees upfront. Earlier in the evening, public commenters spoke specifically about the fees to market 415 West Washington and referred to prior city assessment of its viability as a site for development.
I'm speaking tonight on why you should not approve giving a broker $100,000 non-refundable for an effort that has very low chance of success. I'd rather take a pause and see what our new economic director can think of. The majority of that site is in the flood fringe and very flat, and barely higher than the part of the site in the floodway. Our city's recently retired stormwater expert said, I quote, while codes may allow residential uses in the flood fringe, building elevated residential structures in the flood fringe increases the responsibility and cost of serious emergency services in responding to flood events, increases the risk of occupants being injured in a flood, and floodplain construction is more costly.
We're in a climate crisis, and the city is rightly preparing for actions to sustain basic services for the community in the event of a weather emergency.
In answer to questions, City Administrator Milton Dohoney explained the plan to use a broker, rather than opening up a process for developers to submit bids directly to the city.
We're not simply looking for the highest bidder. If we were, then we might have done it a little differently. The administration is on record as saying we will bring the top 2 to 3 bids for the property to council because we expect them to be different. And there will be some variety in the options available to us. And we believe that this can be accomplished clearly within 18 months. The 415 will probably be the more challenging lot. People will be lined up to buy Klein. We already know that.
Council unanimously approved the $700,000 contract to hire a private broker to sell city-owned property at 415 West Washington and the Klein lot at William and Ashley. Council then considered a $1.6 million increase to the construction contract for rehabilitation of the East Medical Center Drive Bridge. Planning and city expenses to improve this bridge were first approved by council in 2021. Had that plan moved forward, the bridge would already be repaired. In 2023, new members of council demanded a redesign and delay. At the time, Councilmember Briggs defended the additional cost.
It's a new design we're requesting, which is an additional $650,000 estimated. additional construction cost is estimated around $850,000 now, as opposed to $500,000 last year, which we're seeing construction costs increase each year. So that makes sense. And there's a project contingency of $505,000.
The original estimate of additional cost has grown significantly since then. In December 2023, Council approved a $10 million construction contract for the improvements. Last September, that contract had to be increased by just over $1 million. Subtracting the university's share, the cost to the city was nearly $500,000. This week, staff calculates the city's cost share to be approximately 50% of an additional $1.6 million. Council asked questions, and staff offered more explanation of the additional cost.
Are any of the delays are they because of the widening, essentially?
Some are, yes.
The additional $1.6 million for repair of the bridge was approved unanimously, along with the rest of the consent agenda. Without discussion, Council unanimously approved ordinance changes to add 2 members to the Public Market Advisory Commission. Council next discussed an annexation of parcels adding up to 6.3 acres. Properties at Scioto Church Road and Ann Arbor City Road will be annexed into the city to prepare for a new project of 75 townhouses from developer Robertson Homes. Earlier in the evening, a public commenter spoke about the eventual redevelopment.
It adds much-needed homes in an area that is close to daily needs, jobs, schools, and several bus routes. The vitality added to the main Scioto Church Ann Arbor City area between this and the forthcoming Arbor on Main development can only make this side of town a better place to live.
The caller referenced Arbor on Main, a future development originally proposed under the name Valhalla. Not yet built, Arbor on Main will occupy about 10 acres just south of the U of M Golf Club. It will include 450 housing units, just south of Scioto Church Road and just across the street from this week's annexation. After annexation and future rezoning, the Robertson Homes development will include 75 housing units on just over 6 acres. Council discussed the annexation for about 2 minutes.
This annexation of 6.3 acres at Scioto Church and Ann Arbor City Road, these acres currently are located in Pittsfield Township, and bringing them into the city will support an infill project to provide up to 75 townhomes, attached single-family homes to the city. This is a type of housing we just don't have enough of.
The annexation was approved unanimously. At a future meeting, Council will consider zoning the parcels R4E, Multiple Family District, in order to permit the Robertson Homes development. After a brief introduction, Council unanimously approved vacating a public right-of-way at Cornwell Place. This dead-end street is used only by the University of Michigan, and the university has plans for redevelopment. Council then considered the zoning of property recently annexed into the city at 1146 South Maple. The zoning category planned unit development will allow an affordable housing project. Councilmember Dish explained.
The proposed 1146 South Maple will add a 4-story building providing 39 affordable one-bedroom residential units. These units will house those earning up to 60% of the area median income. Also, 30% of them will be reserved for supportive housing, which is very important to keep people in their homes. The development will be managed by Avalon Housing alongside affordable housing complexes Hickory Way 1 and 2. So we're getting more open space by zoning it PUD than we would if we zoned it R4E, which would be the closest comparable. There are 20 parking spaces associated with this place, which is greatly reduced from what it initially came in at, and which just satisfies the minimum for MISHTA housing credits. And so you kind of have to have some parking.
The rezoning was approved unanimously at first reading. At a future meeting, the rezoning will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. Council considered 2 items related to municipalization, establishing a public power utility to replace DTE. A valuation study, postponed from a previous meeting, would assess DTE infrastructure so that it could be purchased. A second item would direct city attorneys and staff to do preliminary work ahead of a ballot question. Earlier in the evening, public commenters spoke in support of both.
I want to thank the mayor for putting together a plan for putting it on the ballot next year. I believe that here at the local level, we have the opportunity to fight back against corporate oligarchy in the form of DTE's hold on our community.
My name is Brian Geringer. I am the Executive Director of Ann Arbor for Public Power. We stand on the precipice of a movement, one that will not be intimidated by the local oligarchs known as DTE Energy. I am sure that all of you have received communications from constituents concerned about the $1.7 million price tag of the second feasibility study. But it is your job to be a steward of the truth. The truth is that that price tag is high, but the truth is also that this study, if it doesn't happen now, it could cause a 2-year delay to public power in Ann Arbor. The truth is that every single public electric utility in Michigan pays lower rates than DTE.
We have a responsibility to move forward with effective climate action in this city. There is no other way that we are going to reach our climate goals without pursuing public power.
The advantages of a municipal electric utility are that it would cost less for customers, as seen in an example of Chelsea, and we would be able to use renewables as our source of power instead of fossil fuels, which DTE uses. The cost of the municipalization study is high, but the cost of not undertaking it are much higher.
I just wanted to address today specifically Councilmember Briggs and Councilmember Ackman. In your newsletter, you claim to care for other priorities over pursuing municipalization, one of those, interestingly, being climate. And you mention your desire to pursue reliable, renewable, and more affordable power, and yet in this way you stand with DTE. My generation, frankly, doesn't have the time to wait for the rich homeowners of Ann Arbor to grace us with their purchase of solar panels with the SEU. And so we need to commit to democratically controlled climate action now.
I recognize that costs for purchase of equipment and the study will be involved and will be better defined by the study. I remind you that a municipal utility will generate revenue from the electricity provided. Local control of energy will benefit the city, residents, and businesses in the long run.
Some commenters spoke out against both items.
At a time when our federal, state, and other funding sources are in flux and at risk, now is not the time to spend $1.7 million on a study that does not provide an outcome.
The financial risk for ongoing maintenance and improvements would fall on Ann Arbor ratepayers. Furthermore, we must carefully consider the broader implications of such a move, both within Ann Arbor and beyond.
Council briefly discussed the valuation study.
As many folks know, the vendor, Nugen, has requested a postponement. They've done so in order to enable one of their subcontractors to avoid a recently discovered potential conflict of interest.
I do think it is fortuitous that this is being postponed.
Council voted unanimously to postpone the valuation study and also voted to postpone the resolution directing preparation of a ballot question. Council then considered a resolution directing the city administrator to issue quarterly reports about strategies to keep bike lanes clear, including a record of how many citations have been issued. Earlier in the evening, public commenters spoke to the issue.
Despite an enormous percentage of public space in our city being dedicated to cars, drivers manage to force their way into the leftover spaces that are supposed to be reserved for pedestrians and cyclists. I hope this resolution will get us a step closer to solving that problem. Please support it tonight.
Cars in the bike lanes are a perpetual problem, and the current system of reporting these on See-Click Fix or calling non-emergency dispatch is not working. Please pass DC3 tonight, and please bring forward a similar resolution for sidewalk snow and ice removal.
Council discussed it.
We see just patterns of blatant disregard in certain areas that to me signals people are aware that they cannot park there, and they're doing so anyway because it's become just de facto accepted. Constantly on Main Street as you're coming into downtown off from Stadium. It's on Division between Hill and Hoover. And like I said, just rows of cars just parked there. What this is really asking for is a focused effort on some of the areas that are most egregious, and so that people, get it in their heads that if they do this, they're going to be ticketed and it's not legal.
They're important to our climate action plan.
The resolution was approved unanimously. Finally, Council considered a liquor license for Recess Cafe LLC, located on South Ashley. The cafe aims to be family-friendly, a place that welcomes children and where adults can consume alcohol.
This will be really a unique addition to Ann Arbor's increasingly diverse and rich cafe scene.
I would have loved to have this place when my kids were younger.
Recess offers a third space for working families, a place in the heart of downtown where parents are able to get additional work done on a snow day, somewhere they can meet up with friends without having to find childcare.
I remember reading an article about how places like this exist in like Denmark and Sweden, and thinking like, I can't wait. I hope we get something like this. So this is really awesome.
The liquor license was approved unanimously. Council went into closed session and met with city attorneys for nearly an hour. They discussed a privileged and confidential legal memo provided to Council on February 15th. The meeting adjourned before 9:30 p.m. with no further public comment. For more details about this meeting, visit A2Council.com.
Welcome to this week's A2Council Moment of Zen.
We're a place where people can bring their kids and where they can hang out and where they can work, but we're not going to be the place where you're still hanging out and drinking at 9 o'clock at night. This is a daytime place for folks to hang out until 7 o'clock.